everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're all doing okay and having a great day and an amazing week. My name is Effy and today we are back with another palette play video. Palette play is where I pick one of my eyeshadow palettes at random to play with and I create three looks. I do one on one eye, one on the other, take them both off and do a third look. This is the third look from today's video and the palette we are playing with is the Sunset Horizons palette. This palette was picked at the end of my last video. I have a tin with all my palettes written on pieces of paper and I pick one out at random. So I picked this at the end of my last video and at the end of this video I'll be picking my next palette to play with. And this is the one I picked. It is the Beautybay Sunset Horizons palette. I'll give you a zoomed in look at that. There we go. Just like I did in the first video, I'll be giving you my thoughts before I play with the palette, be doing all three looks, and then giving you my thoughts at the end to let you know if they've changed, and then I'll be picking my new palette for next time. I'm not going to ramble on too long because it'll probably be a long video, but if you do like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing. It's all makeup content here, and I try to put out 2 videos a week, so if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. But other than that, I will stop rambling and let you enjoy the video. Okay, so here is the palette. My thoughts on the palette beforehand is the quality is really good. I've never questioned the quality of these palettes from Beautybay, they're always amazing. The colour scheme, in my mind, is a little bit limited. If I want to do a sunset eye, fair enough, I'll come to this palette. And I've used the purples a few times as well. But this bottom row of like super dark shades, I don't really know what to do with. So I would like to give them a go today. I'd also like to use some of the shimmers. I think I've used almost all of them. I think maybe these two get the least use. So we'll try and use those. But let's get into it. Okay, so I think to start, although I just said that I typically use this palette for sunset looks, I do want to do a sunset look just to show you that they are stunning from this palette, so I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start with the dark blue, which is called Thunder. As usual, just starting by getting the shape and the colour on. Now I'm going into the shade Hibiscus. Now I'm going into the shade Sorbet. These are all different brushes, by the way. I just have like 6 of the same brush because I love them. Now I'm going into the shade Reef. Now I'm going in with a fluffier brush and the shade Zest. And now I'm just going to be going back through all those shades and blending them. As you can see, the shades work really well together. They blend super easily. The colours work nicely together. It makes a solid sunset eye. You could have done black instead of the dark blue and you could have just gone straight into the oranges if you'd prefer. But there we go. I'm going to do a halo cut crease on this eye and I'm using my Revolution cut crease canvas in the shade Halo. Halo cut creases on, it's not the best. I'm not the best at halo cut creases. But what I'm going to do now is take the dark blue shade and just sort of blend it over the edges a little bit. Okay, I will come back to the matte shades afterwards. But like I said, I want to get some use out of these sort of orangey shades. So I think I'm going to go in with Cocktail on the edges and then Burst through the centre. And if I need to lighten it up a little bit more, I will go in with a little bit of Mirage as well. Got some shimmers on. They work so nicely. They didn't need wetting. They're almost like a putty formula, but I typically don't like putty formulas because you can't use them with a brush. These worked absolutely fine with a brush. So whatever formula this is, I do like it. However, I will say I think the formula in the Wilderness palette and the Age of Opulence palette, which came out after this palette, are a little bit better, but these are still amazing. What I'm going to do now is put on a bit more of that dark blue, maybe a bit of the purple as well, sort of blend the shimmers and the mattes together. Okay, there we go. I'm not gonna lie, it's not the best halo eye I've ever done in my life, but that's down to me, not the palette. What I'm going to do now is pull the exact same shades all the way along my lower lash line, and I'm going to make it quite dragged out and blown out a little bit just because the top is quite blown out, so I'm going to do the same on the bottom. Okay, I am noticing some fallout from the shimmers, and if I were doing my full face I would wipe that away, but as I'm not too fussed by it. I'm just going to go in with a little bit of Mirage on my inner corner. Okay, Mirage is a shade that I think would benefit from being wet. I'm not going to wet it right now because I don't need to. And I don't think it needs to be wet because of the pigmentation. I think it would need to be wet because it's a little bit flakier. It sort of flaked off a little bit, and that's probably the shade that's given me the most fallout. So wetting it with a setting spray would just help bind it together a little bit. But there we go, that is look number one. I'm going to put on a lash and a brow really quickly and then show you it super close up. So there we go, that is look number one. Like I said, not my best halo eye, but I quite like the colours, and the mattes are just to die for. Let's move on to look number two. Okay, so for look number two, I'm kind of thinking I need to use these darker shades at the bottom, otherwise they're just not going to get used. The black occasionally get used, the purple and the dark blue get used, but the shimmers and the brown really don't. So what I'm thinking is I might just do a super simple smoky eye with one of the shimmers on the lid, because I also never use this shade up here, and I never use this shade up here either, so I'm going to try and incorporate those. So this is just going to be a look using all the shades I don't normally use. And I'm going to start with the brown, which is called Canyon. I know this looks quite intense, please trust the process, but that is a really, really good dark brown. Not my sort of shade, typically, but it's good to know that it works well in the palette. And that's kind of where I get stuck. There's nothing to really blend it out with. I think I might go in with a little bit of sorbet, I think that might work. Okay, I feel like that's taking it a little bit too warm, but it's fine, we'll live with it. Now I'm going in with the shade Moonlit. Kind of straying back into Sunset Eye territory, which is fine, but I was trying to test the versatility of the palette and I'm not getting versatility. But now let's go in with a little bit of the Shell shade. That shade doesn't really show up too much on me. It is very similar to my skin tone, so that's absolutely fine. I do kind of like having a shade in a palette that is similar to my skin tone because it's very useful for blending out. And now I'm going to go in with the black, which is called Midnight. Okay, and now it's time to just go back through all those shades and blend them. We're looking really good. As always, the shades are just blending together like a dream. I do have some fallout on my face, which is absolutely fine. I will brush it away in a moment. But yeah, these shades are pigmented, blending well, everything you would expect from a good quality eyeshadow palette. These are the two dark shimmers. This is Stargazing and this is Coconut. This one has more of a purple shift and I have used it in a look once before, but I've never used the shade Coconut, so I think I'm going to go in with Coconut all over my lid. Okay, that looks really nice. I'm just going to try wetting it a little bit to see if I can get a bit more of a sheen to it. I still quite like it. I kind of wish it had a little bit more of a glitter to it. It's almost like a satin type shade on the lid and it does look quite nice in this look. I just personally prefer my shimmers to be a little bit more glittery. What I'm going to do now is dust off the fallout and bring those matte shades around my lower lash line. Okay, now again I'm going to throw on a brow and a lash. I'm not going to do an inner corner on this look just because I think if I were to do this look in my everyday life, I don't think any of the shimmers in here would be what I would choose for my inner corner. I'd probably just go in with my face highlight, but I'll do a lash and a brow. Okay, so there we go. That is look number 2 with a lash and a brow on. Now that I've used these shades, I actually really like them. This is 100% a look I would wear. So what I'm going to do now is go off camera, take off both of these looks and come back and we will do a third one on both eyes. Okay, I'm back. I do have some glitter in my brows and around my eyes from the shades I used before, but that's absolutely fine. Time to do a third look and I am dying to do a purple look. I've wanted to do a purple look for a while now and this is a great palette for it. So we're going to do a purple look and I think I'm going to use a blue shimmer as well, as that's one of the only shimmers I've not used so far. I will also pull in some of the pinks. It's going to be fun and colourful as always. Let's get started. So I'm going to start with the shade Hibiscus. Now I'm going in with the shade Flamingo. Now I'm going in with the shade Dusk. I'm just going back into the pink because I really want to drag this out a lot more. And back into Dusk. In with the shade Bikini. Okay, I feel like this is one of those looks that is going to look so much better when I've got a base on and I've been able to drag it out a bit more. But what I'm going to do now is just go back through those shades and blend them. And now to really deepen it up, I'm going in with the shade Twilight. And just a little bit of the black called Midnight. And once again, just going back through and blending. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the crease using my cut crease canvas. Okay, so I'm not sure at what point the camera cut off, but I finished my cut crease now, which is good. And now I'm going to go in with the shade Oasis. Okay, and just so I can say I've used all the shimmers, on the edge of that I'm going to go in with a little bit of Stargazing. And now I'm just going to go in with some of those matte shades to blend it a bit better. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do now is quickly go off camera, catch up the other eye, do my full base. We'll come back and do the lower lash line and smoke it out a lot more. I'll see you in a second. Okay, there we go. We're all done. This is the third look. I feel like a bit of a fairy. I'm loving the pink tones, the purples. I know I said it was going to be a purple look. It's turned out a bit more pink. And I did notice that the only shade left in the palette, which I hadn't used, was this one right here. So I've just put that on my lower lash line. So I've technically now used every shade in the palette just in this video. Don't say I don't treat you. I will now give you a close-up of this look and then we'll do our final thoughts. So there we go, just a pretty simple cut crease, really blown out. I went quite heavy with the pink blush. I will say the one bad thing I find about these shimmers is that they do crease a little bit no matter what I put them over, what base I use. They just tend to crease throughout the day and go a bit messy, but they look quite nice right now. So, final thoughts on the palette. I still kind of think it's not that versatile, although whilst I was doing this I was thinking that maybe these palettes aren't built to be incredibly versatile. Like the Wilderness palette is mainly a greens palette and the Age of Opulence is a dual tone palette, so you really are picking the colour scheme, and I do like this colour scheme and I do think it ventures out enough. I've managed to get a very different look here. My first two looks were rather similar, but this one is kind of completely different. I wish there were a few more shimmer shades in this palette. There is only 6 and I kind of wish there was a lighter inner corner shade instead of these two darker ones, but that's fine. The mattes work really well. They are a little bit powdery and you could tell that particularly with this shade. As I was putting it on it did sort of fly everywhere, but it's come out pigmented enough for this look. I like this palette. I like all of the Beautybay palettes in this format. I think they're really good quality, especially for the money, and I look forward to using this more, but I do think it's just not as versatile as some of my other palettes. but that's fine because it does what it says on the tin. Sunset Horizons. I'm kind of expecting sunset looks. Let me know down in the comment section which of the 3 looks was your favourite. I think this one might be my favourite. I'm just loving the pinks along with the blues, and the lip pulls it together really nicely. I'm just going to quickly pick which palette I'll be playing with next. Here is the tin, and I'm going for this one. Don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see that. We've got the Revolution Wild Integrity palette, so I look forward to playing with that next. But other than that, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please do give it a big thumbs up, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up 2 videos a week and it is all makeup content here, so if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. It is free to subscribe and it puts a big smile on my face. But other than that, I will let you go. Have a great day and amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.